We are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. You know what's important to us. What's important to us is that you understand who you are. What's important to us is that you begin to recognize that over here in this vibrational reality is the you that we've been focused upon, the you that we know, the you that is really you, the you that is the only you worth mentioning, the you that is you. Did you get that? And that as you are here in these physical bodies, everything about you in these bodies is about the expansion of that. And then the alignment with that, you see. You see? When you focus on anything, you activate the vibration of that within you. But the thing that is throwing many of our physical friends, the thing that makes it, in the beginning at least, a little bit confusing, is that every subject is really two subjects. So often, when you think you're thinking about the relationship you want, because you're thinking about a partner, you're thinking about love, you're thinking about maybe homemaking, maybe family. Since the subject of relationships is really two subjects, what is wanted and lack of it, sometimes when you think you're thinking about the relationship you want, you're actually thinking about the opposite of it. You're thinking about the absence of the relationship you want. Sometimes when you would swear that you have been thinking about the money and the progress in your business that you want, you've not been doing that. You've been thinking about the absence of the money you want and the absence of the progress in your business. Often you don't even realize you're doing it if you're thinking about thinking. If you're only thinking about the thought you're thinking, then we can see how the subject of relationships is a broad subject. It goes all the way from having one to not having one, to having a good one to having a bad one. Just like having all the money you want, all the money you want, all the money you want. Not having enough money sounds like the same subject. But you have to realize that the way you feel while you're thinking the thought is the indicator about whether you are in alignment with what you want or not. There's another thing that often throws our physical friends, and that is often when you are considering something that you want, you're considering it or attempting to through the lens of others who have it or want it. And we want you to understand that the only thing that you need to understand is your own relationship between how much you want it and what you're thinking about it right now in this moment. You think you're creating the car. You are. You think you're creating the financial empire. You are. But what you really are creating is the vibrational version of you. A joyful, intelligent, willing, eager, full of life being. You are the creator of you. And then when you pay attention to your emotions and you shy away from prickly thoughts and you wrap your arms around good feeling thoughts, you focus will yourself into alignment. You praise as often as you can. You are consciously aware of your vibrational proximity to this vibrational version of you. You bring yourself, the physical, thinking, brain person, you bring this physical flesh, blood, and bone thinking, focused person into vibrational alignment with this source energy version of you which you have been creating, which is the reason that you exist. You are the creator of the vibrational version of you. When you then, by paying attention to the way you feel, bring yourself into the vortex again and again and align with the fullness of who you are, then that part of you gets to play with you in traffic, as you take pictures, as you put your nose on, as you play with one another. When the whole of you is playing with you, you recognize it. You say, that is a master on the piano. That is a master artist. This is a master chemist. This is a master mathematician. Those beings are physical beings, yes, who have toned themselves into the full version of who they are. And we just want you to know, perhaps it should have been on the disclaimer that you signed when you came in. Now you know too much. You can't go back. Once you know Once you know about this vibrational version of you, then you understand the pull that negative emotion is. Then you understand the tugging that simply means you've become this and you're not being it. When you're mad at someone, you're not who you are because this part of you loves under all conditions. This part of you has the ability to decipher and focus upon any particle of the universe and to discover something lovable every single time. And when you easily hate or easily are annoyed, you are pulling yourself apart. And every negative emotion you feel is about your separation, too strong a word, but your tugging, your attempted separation from who you are. When you get inside the vortex, everything that you want, and even that which you cannot define with any sense of articulation, is available to you because you have been putting the components of the things that you prefer and the things that you like into your vortex incrementally over a long period of time. And so this becoming of you, this is the point that we so want you to hear. You have been in the process of creating a vibrational version of you. Now hear this. You don't have to move away from anything or anyone to be in the vortex. You just have to understand that it is there. Do you? Do you believe the vortex is a reality that is there? Do you believe that it's accessible to you, by you? Do you understand that it's just a vibration away? Esther didn't get it either until recently, the momentum that could be built. She wants to get a toehold of something, just something, and then milk it and milk it and milk it and milk it and milk it until now she knows so unequivocally what it feels like to be in that vortex that nothing else is tolerable. She said to Jerry, I'm in the vortex and I'm never coming out. And then she said, don't make me come out. And out she went. But it doesn't matter because when you're out, when you've been in, you know you can get right back in. In other words, we want to make this vibrational reality so real to you that you stop giving any conversation to not being in there. Sure, a lot of you aren't in there. So what? Get in. But Abraham, I'm not in for it. So what? Get in. But you don't understand. So what? Get in. Get in. Get in. Get in. Get in. No more excuses. Get in. We want you in the vortex. 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 And we see no excuse for any of you, now that you know what you know, not to be in the vortex. In other words, there's no reason to not be in the vortex. We just want you to know that once you get in there and you stabilize in there and you find the feeling place of it and you remind yourself of who you really are and what it feels like to be in the vortex, we'll never have to have this conversation again. Esther heard the words, she heard the words, she heard the words, she heard the words, she heard the words. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. She's been listening to this for years. Have you seen how many ways we've stood on her head in order to explain to you? It's downstream, it's upstream, it's alignment, it's desire, it's belief, it's a vortex. In other words, there's no end to what we're willing to say to you in order to help you. But it isn't until you actually do the things and you actually feel the difference of being one day, almost all day in the vortex. We don't have to have any conversations with Esther ever again about the alignment of her being. She felt it, she's lived it, she wants it, she knows it's normal. Anything less than that is not acceptable. And now we want to say to you, that's what's been going on with you for a long time. The reason that it feels so dramatic to you is because you have at very deep levels of your being conscious awareness of what it feels like to be in the vortex, and being out of the vortex is just no longer acceptable. And that's the way we want it to be for all of you. The only thing that is pertinent to you in any point in time is the thought that's active within you and its relationship to the thought that who you really are is thinking. So, law of attraction is gathering all cooperative components. So those thoughts, it's a better analogy than you were able to hear. When a radio station is broadcasting a signal, it's irrelevant to you unless you set your tuner for the same frequency. So all these thoughts that have been thought out here in your physical leading edge, and just for sake of clarification, let's call them negative thoughts for a moment. All those negative thoughts that have been thought are out there swirling around, and law of attraction is causing a gathering or a coalescing of them into streams or rivers. But unless you get on the frequency of them, they are irrelevant to you. They cannot touch you. You won't have exposure or experience with them, you see. We said in the early part of the year, and Esther overheard it because she was editing the recordings from that series. We said the sequence of processes that we would apply if we were standing in your physical shoes and we're asking the question that you're asking is, we would go to our bed when we're ready to finish the day, and we would bring our world in, and we would focus upon something as simple as the feel of the fabric of the bedding that surrounded us and the feel of the pillow. We would focus upon the texture of the air. We would focus upon the things that are up close to us and only the things that are up close to us. And in that attitude of drawing inward with an intention to feel it and appreciate it, we would drift off to sleep. So Esther began doing that and began feeling the deliciousness of true aligned sleep. Then the next process, we said, when you awaken in the morning, if you go to sleep in the vortex, you wake up in the vortex. So if you've done your work when you go to sleep, when you wake up in the morning, wake up and acknowledge how good you feel. Focus again back on the things that are surrounding you that you are feeling comfort about, and then let your appreciation reach outward a bit. And as your appreciation expands outward a bit, you run the risk of getting out of the vortex, because the further out you reach, the more possibility of running into things that bother you. But still, try to hold yourself in that state of appreciation for as long as you can. And in the moment that you have your first uncomfortable thought, get your feet on the floor and get out of bed. It was not your non-physical intention to come into the physical experience and live most of it outside the vortex. Your intention was to live most of it inside the vortex with an occasional excursion outside just to put more good stuff in, you see. Everything is about your proximity to your vortex. So sometimes people talk about faith. They have faith that something that they haven't seen happen will happen. And we say the true definition of faith is the understanding of the laws of the universe, understanding that your source stands in complete compliance and becoming of the expanded version of you. And when you understand the reality of that, and you pay attention to the way you feel, you can trust that anything that you want will be. Then it's just a matter of discipline. Then it's just a matter of directing your mind. Esther got on a sort of rampage where she was basking her way to sleep every night, and then awakening in the morning and coming back into basking and appreciating, and then moving right into some focus wheels, which we'll talk about here today, which cleaned up some random screwy vibration. And then she'd go into a list of positive aspects and off into a rampage of appreciation. And she was just tuning herself into the vortex deliberately, getting into the vortex, which simply means releasing any thought that would hold her out. That's all that being in the vortex means. It's cleaning up your vibration, ridding yourself of resistant thought that holds you out of the vortex. And then she began to notice that life from inside the vortex. First she began to say to Jerry, I had no idea how often I was not in the vortex until I got in and really felt what it feels like. From inside the vortex, there is a clarity and a feeling of well-being. It's like being soothed. It's like knowing the all is wellness. It makes things that have loomed large seem nitpicking and unimportant, while the well-being is what radiates. And so, as they find themselves, by deliberate focus, more and more often inside the vortex, then the universe can play the game of cooperative components from inside the vortex. In other words, imagine being vibrationally inside your vortex and therefore emotionally soaring with fun and frisky and thrill and love, and moving around your physical planet under those conditions. So we just want you to know that once you understand these laws of the universe, that once you understand what your emotions mean, once you understand that your emotions are your indicator of your proximity to this vortex of creation that is really you, it is our expectation that you are going to become someone who so wants to be in the vortex that you are willing to let go of all that nitpicking out of the vortex conversation that just wastes time, really. You never sort anything out. Did you know that 100% of politics is outside the vortex?